Hello and welcome back to Karma Stories. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today I have some stories for you from the Malicious Compliance subreddit. Before we start, make sure to check out my website at dangly3d.com where I've just marked down the prices on everything on that site because I need to clear out some inventory. If you spend over $40 Canadian, which is like $30 US, I'll give you free shipping in USA and Canada. Get on there and check out Carmen Chameleon, our channel mascot, and yes, Carmen does come with cookies. There's a whole bunch of variations of Carmen colors on the website right now available for you, and I just marked down the price of the regular size Carmen to like $10, which is $7 US, or something crazy like that. So check it out for yourself, dangly3d.com. Alright, on to today's stories. Let's jump right in. Alright, this story comes to us from, and I apologize for this, Moist Curdy Maxi Pad. You want me to go home? Okay. I worked at a restaurant. We had a front salad bar, a buffet with a salad bar, as well as things like a juice bar and an ice cream counter, and a small alcohol room with a bar. It was so popular and also a bit expensive, but somehow so underpaid, understaffed, and poorly managed. Jenny is the daughter and the only child of the owners of the restaurant. She's extremely spoiled. She almost always gets her way, and she has a temper where she will get pissed off and just lay into the person for an hour straight. She used to come in screaming at everyone for nothing and made racist or nasty jokes. She'd push people to come in sick and then ask why they were so slow. Just the typical manager from hell. Marco, one of the kitchen managers, is the son of a family friend and a beloved member of the community. His management consisted of micromanaging, criticizing our work, blaming random people for things, giving extreme time constraints for tasks, encouraging everyone to smile, and going around asking people while they were in the middle of working their 3 jobs when they wanted to come in the next day or if they'd like to cover a shift on Saturday or whatever. He would forget to do things and then blame other people. Then he would go around criticizing people for their time management or responsibility. Anytime we reported that something was broken or something wasn't working, he just told us to figure it out and nothing would be done about it until Jenny came in screaming at everyone and narrowed it down to Marco. We had other managers coming in and out. They couldn't take it. There were people who were suddenly hired to take on big positions despite having no idea what they were doing, or joined with less than a full day of training just because the place was desperate. The waitresses were paid less than $4 an hour, and some of them were doing part of the dishwasher's duties, front manager duties, cleaning job including kitchen and employee bathroom. I want to say dishwashing was the worst, as 3 different people would come to work drunk or high every day just to tolerate everything. My coworker DJ kept up even when the other dishwashers weren't working, helped me or the waitress clean, and literally had to monitor food that was cooking, and he'd keep track of orders because the manager Marco and the chef wanted to mess around or go stand by the door and smoke. There were days where staff members would break down or get sick, pulling a double shift, and he did everything for them. There was no choice. My job was preparing and filling food items for the main salad bar in front every day, and some days I also did salad bar in the buffet. I had other things to do as part of my normal salad buffet job, including making food for reservations, preparing and stocking the juice bar, and helping move stock into the freezers and fridge. On top of that, I was packing non-salad food for delivery and takeout, helping maintain and stock up to half the buffet, helping waitresses keep up with the serving and bussing, doing ice cream and desserts, cleaning the whole kitchen and storage areas, and customer bathrooms, helping the bar staff, helping at the front desk whenever I was out, and preparing ingredients or fetching things for the normal chef and buffet chefs. All for little more than minimum wage. I fell every day because I was running on wet floors, and I had a heat stroke, and even had to go to the ER for injuries. On buffet days, I had a partner, but that didn't matter. She just stood around right in front of the manager Marco, talking to her cousin who worked there while watching me work, and both she and Marco would take breaks every now and then to criticize my work or my speed. Everything was held together by DJ and me. We were teenagers on Rockstar drinks, so we took whatever was coming to us. We kept everything going so well that we got scheduled to work almost every day, then every weekend. Jenny gave us free soda privilege, and we got raises 2 times in 5 months, which were only 10 cents, but it did look good to me because my dad praised all of my paychecks. He didn't know what was going on, and that I was working crazy hours, and he thought I was overpaid. Most of the customers were very sweet, so we tried our best to be of service, and a lot of them were regulars or people who came in to support Marco or everyone. There was always so much pressure on DJ and me. Also, DJ isn't white, and he would always get racist jokes and comments towards him. Marco and Jenny either did nothing or were the offenders. Most of the criticism or Marco's projection went to him, despite him doing exactly what he was supposed to be doing and occasionally messing up due to extreme stress or time constraint. After a certain point, almost every criticism was race-based in some way. One horrible Saturday, there were 3 times as many reservations as usual, on top of all bars and buffet being open. I clocked in and found out one of the managers let go of DJ the afternoon before. Absolutely no one knew why, including DJ, and I'm really assuming it was Marco. I already had zero hope for the day, and the only thing fueling me was the customers and my paycheck, of course. In just the first hour, I passed Marco at least 5 times trying to get things done. There was one time we accidentally made eye contact while I was helping a waitress. But at some point I went to the freezer in the back to help load some ice cream in, and he happened to walk in at the same time that I was standing there for 3 seconds, doing nothing, waiting for my coworker to bring in the dolly. He gave me this frustrated look like, "Get back to work." He caught me maybe a half hour later while I was coming into the back of the kitchen near the freezer to mop up some spilled water. The final time he caught me, I was in the freezer again looking at the inventory to see what fruit we had enough of, because I could only serve what we had enough of in case people requested more. And Marco had enough. He said, "The place is busy as F, and you're in here just standing in the freezer for like 4 hours. Go home." I gave this look like WTF, and he reiterated that I was done for the night. I was not arguing with Marco. This was not my problem. I just said thanks, took my apron off, and headed out. Both the employee doors were blocked by trash cans, and my partner standing there with the whole cart of things talking to her cousin, so I went to use the main side door in the front of the restaurant. Jenny saw me and asked where I was going. I put on a smile and said, "Man, Marco is the best guy ever. He just randomly came up to me and told me to take the night off." Jenny's face went from confused to shocked to livid in the span of 1 second. She quickly told me, "Don't go just yet," and she stormed into the kitchen screaming, "Marco!" I pretended to not hear her over the music and customers, and I just turned around and left. I got over 10 phone calls, but I simply let my phone ring. I waited until my partner updated her Facebook status with "finally closed, girl night time," or something like that, and I finally texted Marco back and gave an apology that sucked up in the most condescending way, but in a way that was personal that only he would understand if he were to show it to someone. I came back the next morning and it was a complete disaster. Marco and Jenny came in looking dead tired because they spent the rest of the night and overtime busting butt, trying to keep things going. There were actually dishes and trash bags piled up, and both the buffet and kitchen were wrecked because Jenny and her dad didn't want to keep the workers late and pay them overtime. The restaurant had to close for the summer. They posted all these job opportunities in schools and on Facebook and eventually opened back up, but I never answered, and DJ didn't accept amends, so it was a whole spiral. Because of me leaving and DJ being fired, they had to close down their ice cream and minimize their buffet, and they now close earlier because they can't handle it. There are less customers supporting Marco, and there were even customers saying they aren't coming back until Marco or Jenny leaves. There's a waitress who joined during my time there, and it was her first job ever. Now, she is the only previous employee left, and she ended up getting appointed as a manager at some point. I think they had to offer her a lot of money to stay because she bought a new house. Marco is the only other manager now. Marco is still asking me to come back, and since I deleted Facebook, I kept that phone number open with prepaid service on my old phone just for the purpose of reading his texts during my lunch. Hey, OP, I'm seeing some opportunity here. They want you to come back and work. They're sending you texts to come back and work. You should say, okay, I'll come back, but you're going to make me a manager, and this is the wage that I want. And it's going to be a lot higher than what you had before. Then, once you have a chance to work in that manager position for a few months, use that new title to get you a job somewhere else where you'll actually be appreciated. That's how a lot of people do things these days. They use leverage to get into a different company, and then they do the same thing over there and use leverage to get into another company from there. Just hopscotching back and forth between companies and getting into higher positions every time. I truly do hope you were able to find a company that doesn't have a bunch of airheads for managers and that you're doing very well at this point. This story comes to us from Candle Gleam. Dress more appropriately for church? Sure, I'll follow the rule literally. A couple years ago, I joined a small but tight-knit church community. Everyone was pretty relaxed. People came in jeans, dresses, even t-shirts sometimes, especially at youth services. No one was disrespectful, just comfortable. I usually wore long skirts or dress pants and nice tops. Nothing flashy, and definitely nothing revealing. But apparently, that wasn't churchy enough for one particular elder, an older woman. After service one day, she pulled me aside and said, with that sweet fake smile, "Sweetheart, I just want to encourage you to dress a bit more appropriately. We should always look our best for the Lord." I was confused. I asked what exactly was inappropriate about my outfit. A long navy skirt, a tucked-in blouse, and flats. She said, "It's not bad, but, not quite holy attire. Maybe think about what you'd wear if Jesus was sitting in the front row." The next Sunday, I showed up in my most over-the-top church outfit. Full floor-length choir robe, white gloves, a wide-brimmed hat with a fake bird and a little veil. Bible in hand, stockings, low heels, and pearls. I looked like I was either about to preach, get baptized, or time travel back to 1954. People stared. One usher asked if I was part of the clergy now. Someone whispered, "Is she in a play?" And bless her heart, the elder gave me a stunned little nod when I sat close to her and said, "You look very reverent today." Thank you. I figured this is how Jesus would want me to show up. Next week, back to my usual outfit, never got a comment again. Okay, I love this one, and I'm sorry for all the religious people out there, but I gotta poke at this a little bit because what would you wear if Jesus was in the front row? Well, mate, if Jesus was in the front row, I don't think anybody would care what I'm wearing, because none of the attention would be on me. That's one way that OP could have responded to this older lady. Another one would have been, what if Jesus were in the front row? Well, isn't he here already? Now, I'm not a religious person at all, but even I know that when they teach people about Jesus, they teach that he is non-confrontational, non-judgmental, and he welcomes everybody with open arms. So what is up with this older lady? I think she needs to go back and read that book again. This story comes to us from Robert R4836. Talk to the hand. I've commented about this. I think it fits here. In the late 80s, I was asked to work at my pharmacy job full-time during summer break from college. I was the only young full-time worker and the only male among a group of mom to grandma-aged women, mostly working mother's hours. My half-hour lunch was supposed to start at noon, but for some reason, my relief just wouldn't show up no matter how often I paged them. 15 minutes, a half hour, an hour, or more. It didn't bother me, so I didn't complain about it. That first Friday, I finally get to break a little after 1 p.m., and the store manager comes in and starts telling me she has had multiple complaints that I have been screwing up everyone's break schedule and how disappointed she is in me. I try to tell her that my relief is not showing up, and she actually does the hand thing where she just puts her hand in my face and says, "Starting next week, I want you back on main register at 12:30 sharp. No excuses." So next Monday, I start paging my relief at 1:15. At 5 I call for second or backup register, who is surprised since there is only one customer. I tell her to open second register. I close main, lock my drawer in the office, and punch out right at noon sharp. About 10 minutes later, the store manager comes running into the break room in a panic, asking why main register is closed. There's a line, and more importantly, why is main register closed? On Friday, you told me I had to be off main register at noon sharp. No excuses. That's not what I said. Did you say starting next week I have to be back on main register at 12:30 sharp? No excuses? Yes, that's what I said. And is my break a half hour long? Silence for a moment, and then, can you please punch back in and take care of the line? I'll find your relief. My relief showed up at 5 to noon for the rest of the summer. Jumping into the comments on this one, we have one from a user called Area 51 Resident. Awesome. It says, don't do what I told you to do. Do what I imagined you should have done. We hear so many stories on this channel of people who just work absurd hours, don't take breaks, and just give all this extra time to companies for absolutely no return. I don't understand it. Let this be a message to everybody out there that I firmly believe if you have a break scheduled, you should take said break and not work through it, because you need that time to let your brain do a bit of a reset, and working straight through the day just sucks, no matter what you're doing. This story comes to us from Kyle12345513, but there's no bleach. Background. Several years ago, I worked night shift for a big pharma producing injectables. There's very limited people running the place at that hour. I was relatively new there and only had limited training on things I was allowed to do and things I wasn't. The buildings were designed with airflow direction and flow patterns to prevent biological contamination. Can't go the other way or it's shut down, and a cleaning for about 3 to 4 hours. Nobody wants that. My compliance was being instructed to go get raw material X from an earlier room. So for me, that meant doing practically a full loop of the building, exiting completely, and starting over. Fine, only takes about 15 minutes. But the catch here is everything is more clean as you progress through the stages of the building, going through airlocks. Going through the airlocks means spraying objects that you're bringing in with bleach, giving it 10 minutes of contact time, wiping it down, then proceeding. My malicious compliance here is when I inform manager on duty the prior airlock had no bleach, he just interrupted me and said, now. So I do as I'm told and hurry up, exit, go around, wash up, change my scrubs, the works. I get the material and just as expected, I get stuck in the airlock with no bleach to wipe down a cart of raw material. What manager wasn't aware of was I wasn't trained on mixing and making bleach. Yeah, easy enough in practice, but it's still a sign-off I wasn't trained on, so I simply couldn't. I was in there a good 2 hours until the manager found me. All I could do was point at the empty bleach container on the wall as he stared through the glass. He had to leave, do a lap, make bleach himself, wait another 30 minutes or so for bleach to settle, then join me in the airlock for another 10 minutes of contact time together in silence. Okay, so the weird thing on this one is that down in the comments, OP mentioned a couple of times that the boss was actually pretty great and chill. 9 out of 10 in their book. But this was a boss that was yelling at him to do something he wasn't trained to do, and he said in other comments, this boss was short with him all the time because he was a younger worker, and he didn't want to rock the boat because it was his first real adult job. Oh man, that's horrible. If OP still feels like this was a good boss, I can't imagine the bosses they've had since then. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and end this one here. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow us on your favorite podcasting platform. And if you're on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video. It really does help us out. Check out dangly3d.com, where I've marked down the prices on all of our 3D printed objects, including Carmen Chameleon with cookies. I thank you for watching and listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.